opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. You've been cancelled. Join the club.
Oh my goodness me.
And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Faro.
On the Mark Steyn Show, we cover the stories a lot of people are scared even to mention. The stuff that really matters with some of the world's biggest thinkers.
Now is his opportunity to kind of take the steering wheel of history.
Break away from the flock at 8 o'clock on GB News with the Mark Steyn Show.
Hello, I'm Esther McVeigh.
And I'm Philip Davis.
Whether you're watching or listening on TV, online or on radio, we handpick the latest stories, debates and expert opinions for your weekend. So whether that's politics, news or showbiz, we've got it covered.
Join us every Saturday morning at 10 o'clock on GB News.
Hello, I'm Alastair Stewart, and I'd invite you to join me at noon on Saturdays and Sundays for Alastair Stewart and Friends. I've been in this business for over 40 years. Now, here at GB News, I've never been happier. I get to choose the big stories that really interest me. We hear what you have to say, and you hear what I have to say. I really hope you can join me, noon on Saturdays and Sundays.
I'm Mark Dolan. Join me at 11 on GB News for Headliners, in which I'll be joined by two of the UK's top comedians discussing tomorrow's papers. If it's an important story, we'll cover it, but we'll have some fun along the way. Headliners, the late night paper review that won't send you to sleep like the others will. 7 nights a week at 11 p.m. on GB News.
Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
OK, so as we can see, there's been some kind of catastrophic mix-up. I was supposed to be on College Green outside Westminster to ask politicians what they thought of some of the hard-hitting news stories of the day, but GB News have put me in the wrong cab and I've ended up at Comic-Con, which is the UK's largest comic book festival. But they told me I'm not allowed to go back to the studio until I've got everything that they needed. So it's time to find out what these wonderful people think about some of the big political news of the day. But it's time to head in and see what people think about the place, so...
Sorry, mate. No cosplay, no entry.
What's cosplay?
Cosplay is this. Uniform, wherever it is. Even if you staple a piece of paper to your back saying, I'm a this and this.
OK, all right. So I can't just come in, just ask people a couple of questions, do my job, get out?
Unfortunately, no, mate. But people are always walking in and out. You're more than welcome to ask them, but no entry in here, mate.
Looks like I've got to get a costume from somewhere. Right, let's find out what this bunch of nutters think about politics. Wow, there we go. You can find out all about my day at Comic-Con later in the show. Good evening, everybody. Strap yourselves in for 2 hours of great chat, the stories that have got you talking, plenty of laughs along the way. Of course, this is Friday Night Feast. Yes, the weekend starts here, everybody. Grab yourself a drink, grab a handful of nuts if that's your thing, sit back and just relax, because here's a taste of what we've got coming up in the next couple of hours. In this week's challenge, as a newly signed-up member of the monster raving loony party, I tried to secure 5 votes for that party. Do you think I was successful? And Could you rehome our dog of the week? It's Bon Bon. Talk about a sweetie, eh? Look at that thing go. As Halloween approaches, we also have a witch live here in the studio. That's all after 8 p.m. A couple of more serious stories along the way as well. I'm going to be talking about Prince Harry's new book. I'm going to be talking about the news that apparently migrant tent cities could come to a park near you. We've got the absolute lot of it tonight, ladies and gentlemen. But before that, it's your headlines with Tatiana Sanchez.
Good evening. Thank you, Patrick. This is the latest from the GB newsroom. The Northern Ireland Secretary says he'll call a snap election in the country, but hasn't said when. Chris Heaton-Harris said he would give more information next week and would meet with the Stormont parties. There's been no fully functioning devolved government since February. The DUP is blocking the restoration of power sharing in its protest against the Northern Ireland Protocol. Mr Heaton-Harris added he's faced with limited options.
I have limited options ahead of me. I'm under a legal duty to call an election within 12 weeks. I've had lots and lots of talks with all the parties and will continue to do so. And that I hear it when parties say that they really do not want an election at all. But nearly all of them are parties who signed up to the rules, the law that means I need to call an election. So you'll hear more from me on that particular point next week.
Scotland's First Minister will attend the COP27 climate summit as the Prime Minister's facing backlash over his decision not to go. The Scottish Government has confirmed Nicola Sturgeon will be going to the conference in Egypt next month. Meanwhile, Rishi Sunak is coming under widespread criticism. Speaking this morning from Croydon University Hospital this morning, he said he will instead be focusing on domestic issues.
We're an example for others to follow at the pace in which we've reduced climate emissions, how we're going about protecting our environment, and those things are really important to me. It's important to me that as Prime Minister we leave behind an environment that is better for our children and grandchildren. I'm very passionate about that. I'm very personally committed to it, and I just think at the moment it's right that I'm also focusing on the depressing domestic challenges we have with the economy, and I think that's what people watching would reasonably expect me to be doing as well.
During his first official visit as Prime Minister, Mr Sunak faced questions from patients over his upcoming autumn budget and funding of the NHS.
Yeah, and have you had some family come visit you?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah. And they've looked after you really nicely?
Yeah, they always do.
Yeah.
It's a pity you don't pay them all.
Well, we are trying. We are trying.
No, you're not trying. You need to try harder.
Right, I will take that away. Yeah. No, well, they are a very nice team there, aren't they?
They are, but it's important because they do very hard work.
They do very good work, yeah.
The suspect in the attack on US House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's husband has been identified as a 42-year-old man. San Francisco police say Paul Pelosi was violently assaulted with a hammer at the couple's California home earlier today. According to reports, the suspect shouted, "Where is Nancy?" A statement earlier today from Pelosi's office said the assailant is in custody and the motive for the attack is under investigation. Paul Pelosi was taken to hospital and he's expected to make a full recovery. His wife, Nancy, was not in San Francisco at the time. And rock and roll star Jerry Lee Lewis, best known for his hit Great Balls of Fire, has died at the age of 87. The world-famous US musician, nicknamed The Killer, performed alongside some of the all-time greats, including Elvis Presley and Johnny Cash. His publicist confirmed Lewis died at home in Memphis, Tennessee. TV, online and DAB+ radio. This is GB News. Now it's back to Patrick and the Friday Night Feast.
Welcome back to Friday Night Feast, everybody. The news there read by Tatiana Sanchez, who apparently is too good to work on the show anymore. So, Prince Harry's going to have a book out, isn't he? That's presumably going to be written in crayon and contain the kind of childish doodles that any parent would rather incinerate than stick on the fridge door. It's entitled Spare, which actually is exactly what Prince Harry is, an entitled spare part. We all know, don't we, the price that the artist formerly known as Prince Harry had for selling out his entire family, damaging the monarchy and helping to farm this ridiculous notion that Britain is a racist country. That price is somewhere in the region of 20 million quid, apparently. That's the advance payment for this book. And it doesn't matter what he's paid after that, because the truth is that once he signed an advance, he'd signed his family away. People wondering how sensational this book will be? The answer, obviously, is very. Because if it isn't, then it'll be a massive disappointment to the people who've just paid him 20 million big ones, and that can't happen, can it? This book will be the longest suicide note in history when it comes to what is left of Harry's reputation with the British public. It was apparently going to be out for Christmas, but that's been delayed so he doesn't have to suffer the embarrassment of being bumped down the bestsellers list by someone who can actually use joined-up writing. Harry has employed the same ghostwriter as tennis superstar Andre Agassi, another person who's used to serving up absolute balls to the world. I, for one, am really looking forward to the audiobook version, reportedly set to be narrated by Harry himself. I imagine that will sound a lot like Gareth Gates' first X Factor audition. There'll be pauses for crying, deep breathing exercises, and the occasional shout from the other room when Meghan wants that loser to come in and make her another cup of herbal tea. The thing is, given how fruity Harry and Meghan have been with the truth in the past, how can we trust a word of this? During that Oprah interview, there were several massive exaggerations. Like the idea that they were married in private by the Archbishop of Canterbury the day before. That simply wasn't true. It was probably a rehearsal that Meghan and Harry have decided to embellish. In fact, the Archbishop of Canterbury actually had to come out and deny it, because otherwise he'd have been guilty of committing a crime. What about Meghan saying that her passport was taken off her? Well, she went away with Harry 13 times during her short stint in the UK. She's hardly a hostage, is she? Lobbing out this racism allegation against an unnamed royal so it tarnishes the whole family. Harry decided to make Prince Philip's final moments miserable. He decided to make the Queen's final moments miserable. He's tried to undermine the British monarchy, British society, and damage Britain's reputation on the global stage. And yet he carries on, like the kind of lunatic ex-girlfriend you'd like to just get a restraining order out against. This guy is so out of touch with reality. Do you think he's doing us all a favour by banging on about the climate crisis despite emitting more CO2 from private jets than anyone any of us have ever met? He emits more from his own mouth, considering he spends most of his time talking out of his backside. Unfortunately for Prince Harry, I think he might just be a bit thick. And he's being taken for a mug by publishers looking to sell books and a tin pot soap actress on a power trip. I cannot wait to see copies of his book in the reduced aisle at Asda alongside his reputation. Well, ladies and gentlemen, to discuss Harry's new book, Spare, I'm delighted to welcome TV personality and broadcaster Precious Muir. Precious, thank you very, very much. Now, what did you make of my rather scathing assessment there of the prospect of Prince Harry's book flying off the shelves and words of wisdom, pearls of knowledge being contained within its pages?
But I think that you're actually saying something that's quite negative, and I don't feel like it's, the right thing to do, because, you've not even read the book yet. You have to give him a chance, and that's the problem. Hence why the title is called Spare, because his whole entire life, I feel like he's actually been, he's always been told that William's the favourite. And this is his time now to actually express his real feelings to the world. And I believe that his mum, Prince Diana, would be more than proud of him.
I'm sure she would be proud of him, don't get me wrong. I'm not sure he was ever told that William was the favourite. William was the next in line to the throne. Harry was never down to be king, was he? So do you not think there's a bit of that?
No. Well, that's what I'm saying, is that he's always been told that William obviously is the person that's going to be, possibly king or will become king now. And he will never. So he's like the spare part. He's always felt like he's just the extra son, and Charles has showed favoritism. So this is where it comes, and then obviously the world has as well. We always loved William growing up, the way he looked. We always thought he was the most handsome brother, and now Harry has flourished and become into this more handsome guy. And I feel like it's his time to shine now. It's his time.
I understand that. And the reason why I'm happy to preempt the kind of sensationalist content of this book is because he's been paid 20 million quid just as an advance in order to write it. And those publishers are not going to accept anything that isn't spicy.
Yeah, but some of the money, the proceeds is going to charity.
Yes, quite a small amount, actually, when you think about it. Something like £300,000, I believe, is going to Well Child. I think 1.2 million, something along those lines, is going to Centre Barley, which, when you consider how much money is generated from Netflix, this book, and what it'll get after it's been published, isn't that much for someone who claims to care about good causes?
Well, I think that that's not fair to say because, I mean, who are we to dictate how he spends his money and where his money goes? He's showing that he's putting that money somewhere into a charity. He's donating some proceeds from his book. And that's a good thing. We need to stop getting on top of Meghan and Harry and let them be. They're actually a good couple together. They have 2 beautiful children. They have inspired so many. A person of colour like myself, I never thought there would be a Meghan Markle in the royal family.
Well, there isn't.
The fact that he's found someone that he loves so dearly, and as far as I'm concerned, they will forever be royal. Just because they're not working royals, they will always be part of the royal family, and so will their children, and the generation will continue. And that in itself is magical.
If I gave you £20 million right now, would you slag off your dad or brother or close relatives in a book?
But I don't think it's any way slagging off or disrespectful. It's just telling his story. If all of a sudden one day William decided to say the chosen one and sold the book, would that be something that's on the headlines as a negative thing? No, because he was the chosen one. He is now king.
Well, just by virtue of being born.
With the title set. It's unfair to say that. He's just telling his story. OK,
my only issue would be, can we actually expect many truths? Because we did see a lot of it embellished. I mean, Meghan Markle, of course, is an actress. They tend to be a bit fruity with the truth, sometimes used to playing a part, some would say, in little things that we've already seen, or quite big things, in fact, in the past, like, frankly, lying about them being married the day before their own wedding in private by the Archbishop of Canterbury. I mean, what can we believe?
I mean, at the end of the day, you and I and the world weren't there. So we have to take what Meghan Markle, Harry and the royal family say. We cannot put our words in and put these headlines out there. We don't know what's the truth. At the end of the day, we cannot tell what is the truth and what isn't. They are the only ones that can tell that story.
OK, all right, I appreciate you fighting the good fight. Thank you very, very much for coming on, Precious. Precious Muir there, who is TV personality, broadcaster, and it's fair to say a fan of both Harry and Meghan. Joining me on my panel throughout tonight's show is the beauty that is actor, impressionist, presenter, Francine Lewis, ladies and gentlemen, and international man of mystery. This guy parachuted in just moments ago. It's security expert Will Geddes. I'll start with you, Francine. Thank you and welcome back, by the way.
Lovely to be back.
Will you be buying the book Spare?
Yes. Yes, I think a lot of people will be buying this book.
You can listen to the audio book.
Yeah, I'll probably do that, but I'll be very interested to hear what he's got to say. Look, Prince Harry is a spare. We know that. He's not ever going to be an heir to the throne, and he is very jealous and bitter of his brother. And I don't think any amount of money would draw me to want to fall out completely with my father or my brother or any of my family. I actually don't agree with Precious. I think Meghan Markle has had a massive influence on the whole family situation. She calls the royals racist, which I do not believe, being a real royalist that I am.
But also, they're not saying exactly who it is. You know, you lob it out there, a whole family's tarnished by it. And when you listen to Meghan's so-called friends, former friends, for example, various different family members, I mean, they can't all be wrong. There is a reason, there has to be a reason why almost none of them talk to her anymore.
Exactly. But the thing is, I don't know if Harry will ever be able to repair his relationships after this. I think
he won't.
Him doing this is one of the worst decisions he could have made. It was bad enough they did the Netflix series and they got paid. I mean, he is just going to be looked at as such a bad person.
I agree.
Really feel...
Will, I'll bring you in now. Will Getty, he's a security expert. Now, Will, you would sell your parents and throw them under a bus for about 20p, let alone 20 million.
Maybe 25.
Yeah, so
25p.
Prince Harry's
I'm a mercenary, what can I say?
What can you say, exactly? But Prince Harry's been given, as we understand it, roughly about 20 million quid as an advance to essentially lob his family under a bus. How do you feel about that?
Well, Francine and I will both know, having written books, that actually the only money that you actually make is in the advance. You never really get anything off the back of it. So I'm not surprised he gunned for as much as he possibly could. You know what? I think I'm kind of turning a corner here, Patrick.
Oh, no.
Call me compassionate.
Oh, God.
Rarely, this is something you'll rarely ever see in me. But I actually feel a bit kind of sorry for him. I think Spare is a great title because I think he's totally lost. I think the problem is he really doesn't know which side is up at the moment. And the problem is that, as love her or hate her, the thing about Meghan you have to admire is she is a very driven woman. And if you're an actress, and having known enough actresses and actors, steady, Tiger, you've got to bear in mind that they are very, very driven people. They used to be getting knockbacks. So Meghan is making the most of the situation. And I think him being lost, she is almost like his rudder to where he's heading. And this, I think he's going to regret this down the line.
Absolutely.
Definitely. And I also disagree with Precious. I think Princess Diana would have been mortified to
see the breakup.
To see the breakup of her two sons. Because as a parent, you always want to keep your kids close. And I think she'd be mortified to know that, you know, that the brothers dislike each other and he's so jealous of William. I think it's awful what's going on. I really do. And I do blame Meghan Markle, I really do.
There you go.
That doesn't make me a racist person.
But I think that's who she is. That's the problem. I mean, love her or hate her, that is who she is.
Well, there's a pattern of behaviour with Meghan, isn't there? And you do look back at it and you think, well, hang on a minute, can everyone else be wrong? GBviews at gbnews.uk. Get those views coming in. We're going to do post-person Pat, just the right side of copyright law, a little bit later on, where we get to hear from you. And, of course, Friday Night Feast would be nothing without you. So we are the People's Channel. You are the people. Get in touch. You can see the email address there, gbviews at gbnews.uk, or Twitter at GBnews. Do not be shy. But in our next debate, we've got Trevor Noah's comments, that American TV host, about the apparent backlash that Rishi Sunak has received for becoming the first Asian Prime Minister of the UK. Have you heard any of that, by the way? Have you seen any of that? I haven't. I haven't seen a big racist backlash to Rishi Sunak becoming Prime Minister. No? OK. But first, let's just see what the good people of Comic-Con think about this. Do you think Britain is a racist country?
I think part of it is, part of it isn't. I wouldn't say it is as a whole, but I think, like I said, there can be racist elements.
Certain groups, there's certain people who are racist, but not everyone is racist. You know, it's a very black and white issue. We're not a racist country, but, you know, we're not racist, you know.
Do you think we're less racist than America?
Well, kinda. Maybe on equal footing because we seem to be following the Trump school of thought.
I think we're a very unracist country. You know, we have our first non-white Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak. It's very great, proud to betrayed me, the piece of... Yes.
Okay. It's generally our culture from where history has brought us up, because I believe that history, as it starts, has allowed us to evolve to people becoming racist. For me, I'm not racist, I support anyone. It's just how the country has developed.
This community, the cosplay community, can be quite racist.
Seriously?
Yes, very much so. So there's a lot of people who are very accepting, but there's also a lot of people that will pretty much... if you are of a different race and you are dressing up as a character that is not of that race, there are people that will actually critique that.
Half and half. It depends on the person.
Okay.
Most of the time you'll find good people, but there are a couple who are going to be absolute.
Hello there, it's Eamon Holmes here from Breakfast on GB News. We're not just on your television and your screens, you know.
We're on DAB plus digital radio, so you can listen to your favourite shows on the move.
If you've not yet listened to GB News Radio, it's very simple. We're on your radio player and tune-in apps, on your smart speaker, phone or tablet, or online at gbnews.uk.
Take us with you wherever you go. GB News Radio.
You never have to miss a moment of the People's Channel.
Hello, I'm Simon Evans. Join me on GB News for Headliners at 11 p.m. where I'll be joined by two of the country's top comedians as we take a look at tomorrow's newspapers tonight. If it's a big story, we'll be covering it, I guarantee, but we'll also have some fun along the way. That's GB News headliners at 11 p.m. We won't put you to sleep, unlike some of the other paper review shows out there. So join us, 11 p.m, 7 nights a week.
I'm Mark White. As GB News Home and Security Editor, I cover those key issues that are so important to you. Our authorities, our communities doing all they can to combat violent crime. With the public services under unbearable strain, why are we still failing to control our borders? Defence, the first priority of any government, has been continually hollowed out. Can we trust our politicians to protect the armed forces? Join me, Mark White, on GB News.
Join me, Nana Akue, on Friday, Saturday and Sunday afternoons on GB News. Expect fiery debate and passionate discussion as me and my panel tackle some of the biggest topics hitting the headlines. It's a place for everyone's opinion. No one gets cancelled, but no one gets an easy ride.
Oh, she's on it today.
Be ready for conversations that are fierce, frank and, of course, fun every Friday, Saturday and Sunday afternoon from 4 p.m. on GB News.
Every morning from 6 o'clock, we'll wake you up with GB News Breakfast with all the stories you didn't know from the night before.
So whether it's serious news, entertainment, or your own views from all over our great nation, we're here to kick off your day with a smile.
And the national media should be reflecting and reporting what's happening here.
You will notice the northwestern accents.
Whether you're with us on TV, radio, or online, every morning, it's breakfast from 6 a.m. Hope you can join us.
Every Saturday at 2 o'clock, join me, Darren Grimes, for Real Britain. I'm not afraid to give you a platform and say it how it is.
Come on, make the case. Something like this is very, very important to people.
And we're always up for a laugh on this show.
God, honestly, you'd think there were no problems in the world.
Real Britain, every Saturday on GB News.
On the Mark Steyn Show, we cover the stories a lot of people are scared even to mention. The stuff that really matters with some of the world's biggest thinkers.
Now is his opportunity to kind of take the steering wheel of history.
Break away from the flop at 8 o'clock on GB News with the Mark Steyn Show.
We are GB News.
And we'd like to say thank you
To each and every one of you
for helping our great nation
Find its voice.
We're absolutely everywhere.
Across England, Scotland, Wales and Northern Ireland.
On TV.
On radio.
And online.
We're proud to be
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back, everybody, to Friday Night Feast. Now, comedian Trevor Noah hit the headlines this week, I'm sure you're all aware, after making extremely controversial remarks regarding the reaction in Britain to Rishi Sunak becoming the new Prime Minister. They weren't just controversial, they were completely made up, actually. Noah's US news programme, The Daily Show, featured a monologue about Rishi Sunak and about British people. Let's just have a little listen, shall we?
Watching the story of Rishi Sunak becoming England's first Prime Minister of colour, of Indian descent, of all of these things, and then seeing the backlash is one of the more telling, it's just one of the more telling things about how people view the role that they or their people have played in history. And what I mean by that is this. You hear a lot of the people saying, oh, they're taking over. You know, now the Indians are going to take over Great Britain, and what's next?
Trevor Noah is a cretin and a moron. There is no backlash whatsoever. Rishi Sunak is not just the Prime Minister of England, it's Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland. Have you heard any kind of racist backlash whatsoever to Rishi Sunak? Can you imagine? I mean, he's barely even mentioned it himself, by the way. It only happened to coincide with Diwali that actually it became a thing. Anyway, joining me to discuss this, we have the broadcaster and commentator Narinder Kaur and the research analyst and writer Dr. Rakib San. Thank you very, very much. Look, both of you, I imagine, take slightly different views on this. But Narinder, talk to me first. Has there been a massive racist backlash to Rishi Sunak coming in? Because I live and breathe politics and I haven't seen it.
Patrick, with all due respect, you're a white man. How can a white man, how would you have felt?
I've got eyes and ears.
Yeah, no, because you wouldn't have, it wouldn't have affected your life. So since when Rishi became Prime Minister, I have seen so much racism. I have felt the racism, and people are low-key annoyed. They are. Even the people who think they're not racist are a little bit annoyed.
But hang on a minute, if you're using this idea now that, well, whether or not they say anything or do anything, they're still a racist, then we might as well all pack up and go home, Narinder.
Yeah, but Patrick, let me turn it around. Are you saying there's been no racism?
I haven't seen it. Look, there's racists everywhere. There will be racists everywhere. There are racist accountants. There are racist people who work at M&S. There are racist people who work... Right, racists do exist, OK? There are murderers. There are paedophiles. There are these people. But I haven't seen a racist backlash.
Patrick, you'd be living under a rock if you think that there's been no backlash. Trevor Noah has hit the nail on the head. People are so annoyed. They are, you know, the under-key, low-key, cloaked racism. I'm not talking about overt racism. People are so annoyed that we have an Indian man as Prime Minister of Britain. And you can't sit there and tell me there isn't. People are
I haven't seen
annoyed.
it. I haven't
They're
seen
irritated. They don't want to say it out loud, but they are.
Okay, all right. Well, I will come back to you, Narinder. I will come back to you. I will come back to you, Narinder. Dr. Rakib Hassan, who is a research analyst and writer, has there been a massive racist backlash? Have you seen it?
Well, I haven't seen it, and if truth be told, I'm not sure Trevor Noah is the ultimate authority when it comes to British race relations. Patrick, there was a survey back in 2020 where white voters in Britain were asked about how they'd feel if we did have a non-white Prime Minister, and the vast majority said that they would either actively welcome it or they said that the ethnicity of the head of government is irrelevant.
Rakib, can I ask you a
taking the colour blind approach.
Hang on, Narinder.
Narinder, you're not the interviewer, Narinder.
Carry on, Rakib.
So if I could just carry on, I'll just make the point that the idea that it is a mainstream view that British people are irritated by the fact that we have a non-white Prime Minister is sheer speculation. And if it is a view, it's on the fringe. It's a view which is on the margins of society. The reality of the matter is Britain, compared to other diverse democracies, Britain fares exceptionally well when it comes to the provision of anti-discrimination protections, has a robust pro-equality framework.
Metropolitan police have just been found to be racist.
Compared to other diverse democracies, especially those in mainland Europe, it fares particularly well when it comes to diversity in its legislature.
All right, Dr. Rakib, I'll come back to you. Narinder, can you give me some examples? No. I want you to give me some examples because I'm sick and tired of things being lobbed out there without cast-iron examples. So have you got any examples at all of people being racist towards Rishi Sunak, or there being the kind of backlash that Trevor Noah was alluding to, which insinuated, frankly, that we're all racist pretty much?
Well, there are streams and streams of WhatsApp images, memes, GIFs, and pictures of 10 Downing Street with the groceries outside, with this outside, a snake outside. There's an MP in Newcastle on his page. There's on his page, Ian Levy, and there's racist comments under there. And there's tweets, there's people in my social circle, my Facebook comment, when I put up a whole post congratulating Rishi Sunak. I've got 50% Caucasians, 50% brown people, and I'd say out of the 250 likes, 247 were from Indian people and 3 white people. I'd say I've got so many examples. I don't know how much time you've got here, Patrick.
All right, Dr. Rakib, well...
And I don't know what planet Rakib lives on, but why was Liz Truss voted over?
I live on the planet. Narinder, I live on the planet where I don't use 250 likes and amplify it as if that's representative of
but you just use a book. You write something, you read a book.
Well, I'd rather use that than 250 likes.
Let Rakib talk. Go on, Rakib.
No, I'll just purely make the point that if someone wants to use their own social media activity and then make grand conclusions on British relations on the back of that, then that's their agenda.
I use my life examples. People have been...
Narinder, you can't keep talking over him, please, now. Rakib.
Sorry.
The reality of the matter is that the majority of British people ultimately focus on policy substance and quality of governance. They're not fussed by the ethnicity of the Prime Minister. What they want is a Prime Minister that manages the economy well, addresses the cost of living crisis, and there's other issues such as lifting educational standards, NHS backlogs in regards to our court system. The idea that it is a mainstream white British view that people are upset over Rishi Sunak being at 10 Downing Street, Narinder is for the birds.
Well, let me just branch it out a bit, Narinder, then. I'm sure you did, to be fair on you, you rattled off a load of examples, anecdotal they may be, but examples nonetheless, about your experiences when it comes to Rishi Sunak facing racism from some people online. But is Britain itself a racist country, Narinder?
I'd say it's very dangerous to say the whole of Britain's racist, and I'd say no, but there is a large section. I do think Britain has a disease of racism, and it's incurable. And I think, Rakib, I do agree with you that actually, on the whole, people just want him to do a good job. I agree with that. But Patrick and Rakib, we cannot ignore that Britain does have a racism problem, and it took an American presenter to point it out. That's sad.
OK, Dr Rakib, can I just ask you, do you think there's any racism against white people at all? Does that exist?
I think there's racial prejudice which exists in all communities, Patrick. That's the truth of it. Narinder's previously talked about the level of bigotry that she's experienced within Indian origin communities. I think the reality of the matter is if you want to have a proper anti-racism approach, you have to tackle forms of prejudice in all communities. But I'd say that on the whole, Britain is a tolerant, anti-discrimination, pro-equality country, and it is certainly one of the best places to live if you're an ethnic, racial, or belong to an ethnic, racial, or religious minority.
I think you're very deluded, Rakib. I think that's a very...
I'm not deluded. It's very accurate. It's very accurate what I've said there.
With respect, Narinder, and please take this the right way, I would be confused if I really thought that the place that I lived didn't like me for the colour of my skin and that I was getting daily racism, etc. I'm not sure I would stay there, so I don't quite understand. Do you really feel that on a daily basis?
Yes, I do, Patrick, and actually I understand what you're saying because a lot of people do say that to me, so I don't feel uncomfortable saying it to me. I respect that you've said that to me because it's an open discussion and this is a Freeview channel. You know, we all should be open. But actually, I was born here. But in answer to your question, I would love to take my children abroad. I actually don't think this is a great place for them. They are always disadvantaged because of the colour of their skin. Definitely.
Dr Rakib, I'm not sure what your personal circumstances are, but if you had kids or whatever, would you be comfortable for them growing up there, do you think?
I'd make the point that I think that it's not the ideal approach to use your own personal circumstances and then make grand conclusions about the society that you live in purely based on your own personal experiences. Ultimately, I've always made the point that when it comes to providing anti-discrimination protections and religious freedoms, Britain fares much better than other diverse democracies in the world. And I'll reiterate this very point. When it comes to being a member of an ethnic, racial and religious minority, when you see the level of persecution internationally towards minorities, being a member of a minority living in Britain is one of the best places to be.
But does it make it any better? Does it make it okay?
It does make it better. If you're going to make a conclusion about Britain, then the common sense thing to do is to compare Britain with other countries and other diverse democracies.
Well, that's all right. Then I'll just get called the P word all the time because actually it's not as bad as being killed somewhere else. I don't understand your logic there, Rakib.
Well, the logic there is if you're making grand sweeping generalisations of Britain, then what I will say...
I'm saying I didn't say
the level of anti-discrimination protections and freedoms afforded under British democracy compared to other countries. That's the common sense thing to do.
Oh, look, both of you, we could talk all night about this. Thank you very much. I must say, I really did enjoy that back and forth, actually, educational stuff. Narinder Kaur, thank you very much.
Thank you, Patrick.
And commentator, take care. And Dr Rakib Hassan, a research analyst and writer as well. Good grief, there we go. Right, OK, I think I've just got time, have I, for my panel? Yes. Francine Lewis joins me now. And Will Geddes, of course, but ladies first, Will. Of course. You're a gent. What do you make of that?
Well, I don't really agree with what Narinder's been saying at all. I don't think we're a racist country. Obviously, we have a minority. I'm not the biggest fan of Trevor Noah. I don't like some of the comments he's made in the past either. And I think he's swallowed up by the mentality of the Americans because a lot of Americans use everything about race and everything about politics. And I think we would never have made a British Indian a Prime Minister if we were racist at the end of the day. And he is British. I mean, I'm Anglo-Indian, and I'm not saying, oh, people are racist towards, you know, but I will say years ago, I remember when I was very, very young, and my mum, because I wanted to go to an acting school, tried to get me into Sylvia Young, and she said, I only want blondes and blue eyes.
Really?
I would say years ago.
Oh, that is racist.
Yeah, I would say years ago on the TV, we would always see the girl next door. The blondes, the blue eyes. I think nowadays we see most high-powered people are black or Asian. So no, I think this is rubbish.
That was really
We've come
insightful.
full circle.
OK, Will, because Trevor Noah was just the latest in a long line of, as far as I can see, I think, did Green Day call them American idiots, where you got Joe Biden there saying things like, oh, and the Conservative Party, go figure. It's like, well, yeah, the same Conservative Party that's had 3 women, a black chancellor, goodness knows what else going on. How many Home Secretaries have been ethnic minorities as well. And then Trevor Noah piping up. Do you think these people need to just educate themselves a bit?
I think that Trevor Noah needs to stay in his lane. I loved what Rakib was saying. I think he brings that kind of balance, he brings that impartiality, he brings that sort of the sense to that kind of argument, because I think it's a very inflammatory subject. I'm not the best person in any capacity to be able to speak about racism, other than I've dealt with people who have been very nastily victims of racism. I think Narinda's points about social media, it's irrelevant. It's an echo chamber. And lots of people, like the vast majority of people who go and subscribe for comments on things like Mail Online, they will do it specifically to troll. They'll do it purely as a hobby. So the memes that have circulated around Rishi Sunak, that is to be expected. Anybody who took that position would have memes, would have some mockery that would be attached to it. So I think the problem is Narinda needs to jetpack into the 21st century. That is the world that we live in. There is going to be racism on all sorts of different levels, but I think we are not a racist country. I would like to hope that we're not. I think there's enough people of the complexion that I have.
Blonde hair, blue-eyed. Don't get too triggered. Sylvia,
when I got thrown out of Sylvia Young.
Yeah,
She would have grabbed you. She would have loved you.
I know, thrown out with my blonde hair and my beard. But my jazz hands are starting to sing.
Oh, good grief. He started already. Anyway, right, OK, ladies and gentlemen, we're off to an absolute flyer here on Friday Night Feast. Thank you very much for everyone who's coming along for the ride. And coming up, as always, I'm looking forward to meeting this week's national treasure, plus latex suits, all-you-can-eat buffets and dodgy behaviour involving rubbish bins. No, not the Friday Night Feast after party, but this week's edition of Round Your Parts.
Weekday afternoons on GB News, we've got the whole of the UK covered. From 12 to 3, it's GB News Day with me, Mark Longhurst.
And me, Gloria Di Piero. You'll get the very latest on everything that's been going on across our great nation.
And from 3 till 6, watch out for GB News Live with me, Patrick Christys. I'm not here to mess around. With all the biggest topics and guests, you will always be up to date. GB News Day and GB News Live from 12 p.m.
Only on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
My name is Andrew Doyle. Join me every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. for Free Speech Nation. This is a show where we address current affairs and news stories of the week with the help of 2 wonderful comedian panellists. I brought in comics because I want to give it a lighter edge, and also they work for less. See you there.
My name's Tom Harwood, and join me 9:30 a.m. every weekday for The Briefing, your one-stop shop for everything you need to know about what's going on in politics today. I wonder if this is a deal that might need to be like the biscuits in this factory, twice baked. Is there not an opportunity here to win out against the extremes?
Tom Harwood, GB News.
What are you going to do about it?
Things should have been done differently, and they certainly are being done differently.
Don't miss it. The Briefing with me, Tom Harwood, 9:30 Monday to Friday on GB News.
On Mark Dolan tonight, we have a simple plan, which is to inform, stimulate and entertain in equal measure. It's all about getting your opinions on the national television airwaves. I love my viewer emails, mark@gbnews.uk. So do join me from 9 p.m. to midnight every Friday, Saturday and Sunday for big guests, big opinions and a big presenter. 6'5", don't you know? See you then on GB News.
Where would you like to go?
Just take me to the studio, please, mate. You know where you're going. I've got a show to do. Friday Night Feast on GB News, 7 p.m. And it's like nothing you've ever seen before. We take a different angle on the week's biggest news stories. The viewers and listeners set me some absolutely mad challenges to do. We tried to rehome a rescue dog. And yes, there's some other wacky stuff in there as well. I feel like I could take on the world. Well, that's that. Friday Night Feast with me, Patrick Christie's, every Friday, 7 till 9 p.m. on GB News. Be there.
Join me, Arlene Foster, for the briefing on GB News. Every Friday at 3 p.m, I'll give you all the latest political news and analysis, and we'll have robust live debate. To make sure that you're caught up on all of the biggest issues of the day, we'll bring on experts in their field. I'll ask the questions that you'd like to ask. We're not afraid to tackle discussions from all perspectives, including yours. Don't forget, the briefing with me, Arlene Foster, every Friday at 3 p.m. on GB News.
Welcome back, everybody, to Friday Night Feast. Now it's time for this week's National Treasure. More than 200 works of art and limited edition prints went on sale today to support Glasgow Children's Hospital charity, which I think we can all agree is a fantastic cause. McTears is selling the works at an auction organised by the charity supporter Steve McGill. Artists have contributed to the auction include, get this, Banksy. Yes, that's right. Well, let's talk now to a man who does amazing work for charity, Steve McGill. Steve McGill joins us now. Yes, Steve, you are this week's National Treasure. Woo! Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Right, OK. What's Banksy's real name? No, I'm only joking. So, come on, talk to me a little bit about what you do. You raise loads of money for kids.
Yeah, I was approached by the hospital charity at the end of last year to ask if I would help them with some fundraising for their 20th anniversary. I'd previously organised an art auction in 2020, which was a success. So they asked if I would do another one. And because I'm retired now, I was able to spend the entire year organising it.
So I have to go now. No, there's no way you can be retired, Steve. God, you look far too young, Steve. Yeah. No, you do, though, to be fair. I was actually quite shocked. about that. No. So come on, talk to me a bit about how you go gathering the artwork, and then how do you auction off? How much money have you raised this time?
I literally just went with approach everybody, because the worst that can happen is they say no, and the best they can do is they'll donate something. And we had 155 incredible artists who donated 228 artworks.
Wow.
The auction was earlier today. I'm delighted to say that it raised £80,230.
Way! Well done.
It's a phenomenal result for the hospital.
A phenomenal result, and Steve, cheeky little plug now. Can our viewers still donate? How do they do that? Do you know? Have I put you on the spot?
They can, if they want to donate to the hospital charity, they can do that by going to the Glasgow Children's Hospital charity website.
Yes.
And they can make donations via that website anytime they want and for any amount they want.
Good stuff. Well, Steve, can I just say, well done for being this week's National Treasure. In Patrick Christie's Britain, you immediately get a knighthood. So well done and fantastic work. And people like you make the world go round and make this country great. Steve McGill, ladies and gentlemen. Well done. Woo, fantastic. Good old National Treasure there. There we are. Right, now it's time for Round Your Paws, where we dig deep to find some of the absolute gems of local news. I love local news because it's absolutely nuts. Hang on a minute. What's going on here? We've got a... Is this just coming through? Sorry, guys, ladies and gentlemen, I've just got something coming through. Oh, it's the story we've all been waiting for. Yeah, this is just hot off the press, ladies and gentlemen. It's just come in now. The latest on the GIMP sightings in Cleve, North Somerset. Suspect was arrested after two men were confronted by a man in a full latex suit and full face covering. The suspect has... Yeah, he's been released on bail, so lock up your rooms, ladies and gentlemen, on suspicion of causing a public nuisance. This, of course, is not the first time the latex-wearing weirdo has been terrorising the West Country villages. In fact, he's been doing it for years, which is why we've made such a big deal out of it right now. It looks like the Somerset GIMP has finally been snared. Luckily, no one has been physically harmed, and this may be the last incident before the GIMP man will be unmasked. like the world's worst ever episode of Scooby-Doo. There he is. If you're watching us on your television, you can see the GIMP there. If you're listening on radio, it's a GIMP. Ah, there we go. Have you ever been approached by a man in latex, Will?
Often.
Yes.
Usually they're... No, I'll be very careful here. I was going to say something about Royal Marines, but... but, yeah, I'm surprised Mr Gimp Man hasn't been filled in yet. I'm sure if he's going around terrorising the neighbourhood, going into my neighbourhood, probably a bad idea.
Well, can you imagine being too scared to go outside just in case there's Somerset Gimps there?
But what is he getting out of scaring so many people? I don't understand why he's doing this.
It's genuinely been going on 4 years. For at least the last 2 or 3 years,
Yeah, I think he needs therapy.
Yeah, and the rest.
But I mean, if he goes out tonight, he'll probably blend in nicely with all the Halloween sort of fancy dresses.
He's got the perfect cover, hasn't he?
Definitely.
OK, well, there we go, ladies and gentlemen. Finally, we can all sleep easy because it does look as though the Somerset Gimp has been snared. Anyway, in Brighton, 2 men have been banned for life from an all-you-can-eat restaurant for scoffing too much food. The restaurant manager angrily accused the pair of eating him out of business by destroying the buffet and eating everything on the menu. He called them a couple of absolute pigs. There we go. This behaviour was going on for 2 years, but this was the final straw. One of the food lovers argues that the restaurant promises to allow people to eat as much as they want. So, what's the issue, Francine? Didn't these two deserve to be banned? You are talking to a man who once filled a pint glass with the chocolate fountain at an all-you-can-eat buffet in Nottingham and drank it.
Well, if it's all you can eat it.
There you go.
If you can stomach that, then, good on you, I say. Why not?
I agree. It's not all you can eat, is it? It's all you can eat until you get banned.
And to be fair, Patrick, the price of living now and all the food, going up, a lot of people aren't eating very well, so if it's a free buffet, do it.
I remember back in my youth, there were mates of mine who would go to an all-you-can-eat buffet, but they'd just fill their pockets as well with loads of food.
Oh, yeah.
So
I mean, at university...
Why not?
Absolutely. At university, it was just an absolute gift. And we've got a producer at the moment, Steve Baker, who, as we understand it, is in Benidorm on a stag do, and it will be the only Brit, I imagine, ever to go to Benidorm to get turned away from an all-inclusive because he's had enough. Right, so we'll have to wait. If you're watching, Steve... For goodness sake, mate, make it home in one piece. All right.
I do that thing, actually. This sounds terrible. When I'm on holiday, I do take a little bag down with me, and after breakfast, I take a few Danishes, a bit of fruit in my bag for later.
You know what I like your style, Francis.
I like
your style.
My grandma used to do that, but for the stray cats on the way.
Yeah, I used to do that for the cats as well, so I'd take loads of sort of sausages and bacon and...
Yeah, sometimes I do that if I've left something when I've been...
Feed the local animals.
Just very quickly, Barry B.J. Welsh has made headlines around the world when he baptised a friend in floodwater under a roundabout in Bristol, you heard. The born-again Christian says he's turned his life around after being addicted to drugs. Yep. He's been caught on camera spreading the word of the gospel at the teabag aisle in Asda, so everything's going great for BJ. Mr. Walsh was also set up a weekly church called the Set Free Ministry and is passionate about helping others. That's round your parts, ladies and gentlemen. Those are some of the best stories that we could unearth from local news. If you've got any others from your area, make sure you get in touch. gbviews@gbnews.uk. Coming up, I will be hearing from you lovely people in post-person. Pat, I'm going to be talking about whether or not a migrant tent city is coming to a park near you. That's right, the Home Office have decided that maybe, just maybe, they're going to start erecting tents and fill them full of asylum seekers and put them in a park near you. Will we actually have that happening? And Keir Starmer gets in a muddle about Eddie Izzard. Yes, that's right. Watch out for the toilets, Eddie. It's this week's Patrick Hat-Trick.
We are GB News.
And we'd like to say thank you
To each and every one of you.
for helping our great nation.
Find its voice.
we're absolutely everywhere.
Across England, Scotland,
Wales and Northern Ireland.
On TV.
On radio.
And online.
We're proud to be
The People's Channel, Britain's
News channel. Hello, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and you can join me every weekday 6 till 7 on Jubes and Kerr. Me and my panel will get stuck right into the day's events, and I can tell you, in fact, I can warn you, expect some robust debates, some strong opinions and perspectives from both sides of the fence. It's about you at home as well. I love to read out all of your comments, or at least as many as I can. So join me, Michelle Dewberry, Monday to Friday, 6 till 7 on Jubes and Kerr.
Join my show Farage, 7 p.m. till 8 p.m. Monday through Thursday, and there you will get opinion, analysis, debate, and I'll cover stories that nobody else dares to touch. You've been cancelled. Join the club. Oh my goodness me. And then for the last 15 minutes, talking pints. We're over a drink. We have a civilised conversation with someone. We very often disagree, but we do it in a grown-up way. Come and join me on Farage.
On the Mark Steyn Show, we cover the stories a lot of people are scared even to mention. The stuff that really matters with some of the world's biggest thinkers.
Now is his opportunity to kind of take the steering wheel of history.
Break away from the flop at 8 o'clock on GB News with the Mark Steyn Show.
Hello, I'm Esther McVeigh.
And I'm Philip Davis.
Whether you're watching or listening on TV, online or on radio, we handpick the latest stories, debates and expert opinions for your weekend. So whether that's politics, news or showbiz, we've got it covered.
Join us every Saturday morning at 10 o'clock on GB News.
Hello, I'm Alastair Stewart, and I'd invite you to join me at noon on Saturdays and Sundays for Alastair Stewart and Friends. I've been in this business for over 40 years. Now, here at GB News, I've never been happier. I get to choose the big stories that really interest me. We hear what you have to say, and you hear what I have to say. I really hope you can join me, noon on Saturdays and Sundays.
I'm Mark Dolan. Join me at 11 on GB News for Headliners, in which I'll be joined by two of the UK's top comedians discussing tomorrow's papers. If it's an important story, we'll cover it, but we'll have some fun along the way. Headliners, the late night paper review that won't send you to sleep like the others will. 7 nights a week at 11 p.m. on GB News.
Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
Welcome back to Friday Night Feast. It's time now for Patrick's Hat Trick, where I look at 3 videos which have gone viral this week. So we start with Labour leader Sir Keir Starmer, who's refused to answer whether he believes comedian and politician Eddie Izzard, who identifies as a transgender woman, would actually qualify for an all-women shortlist. Pretty simple question, Sir Keir. Izzard recently announced that, I'm not calling him she, he plans to stand for Labour in the Sheffield Central constituency at the next general election. Let's take a look.
I'm not going to discuss individual cases. I know Rosie Duffield's position. My position is, as I've set out, as I say, for 99.9% of women, it's a matter of biology. I completely support that. There is a small percentage...
So Eddie Izzard could qualify in your
struggle with their gender.
Indeed, of course.
And I'm not going to simply put that on one side. They are...
No, indeed.
And ignore that.
But Eddie Izzard could sit on an all-women shortlist.
Well, Nick, I'm not going to discuss individual cases.
You just won't give me a comment on that?
I'm not going to discuss individual cases.
That's the thing. Keir Starmer isn't a lawyer anymore, right? So this whole business of I'm not going to discuss individual cases is what a lawyer would say, or the head of the CPS would say, or a police officer would say. No, I'm sorry. You are in Parliament now. You're the leader of a national party, and you have to discuss individual cases. Francine Lewis, Eddie Izzard, man or woman?
I find it really difficult because obviously I was always a big fan of Eddie Izzard.
Yeah,
it's like Caitlyn Jenner for me. You know, being a massive fan of
Caitlyn Jenner's pretty sound.
Yeah, but being a massive fan of the Kardashians, seeing him as Bruce Jenner for so long, and obviously she's a she now, like Ezzy Izzard, I find it really hard to see him as a she, but...
Yeah.
That, you know, it is a she is a she now.
Really?
So that's what she wants to be, then, yeah.
Will, would you put a frock on her and go on an all-women shortlist?
I have regularly.
Oh, yeah. Good stuff.
It depends on which weekend. No, on a serious note, I mean, it's... I'm really not the best person to talk about this. I'm so old school about it. I think, you know, Eddie, I agree with you, Francine. He's not funny anymore. So he's irrelevant. But I think Keir Starmer, again, he'll never be a tangible or credible opposition until such time as he actually gives an honest
Well, you've got to be able to say what a woman is. Anyway, right, moving on quickly, because we're only on number 1 of Patrick's hat-trick. On number 2, on Monday, Rishi Sunak gave his first speech as incoming PM. His address at Conservative headquarters was just 90 seconds long, and the ending caused a bit of a stir. Let's take a look.
I pledge that I will serve you with integrity and humility, and I will work day in, day out to deliver for the British people.
What the heck was that? If you're listening on radio, we didn't drop off air there. That was Rishi Sunak just standing in front of his auto cue for what seemed like a year before shuffling off to one side. When he was talking, I actually honestly thought it looked like a hostage video. Finally, we discussed Trevor Noah earlier, didn't we? He was not the only comedian who raised eyebrows with their contribution to that Daily Show segment. Ronnie Ching, as well, has also come in for criticism after giving his hot take on our new Prime Minister. Have a listen to this.
Let's be clear. Indians are not Asian, okay? Okay? They're still people, great people. They're just not Asian people, okay? No, answer me this. If this guy is Asian, how come when he became Prime Minister, I felt absolutely nothing? I mean, when I was down at Dim Sum Palace this morning, me and the fellas were like, oh, that's me up there. I feel seen. I love how Indians try to have it both ways, like being Indian and Asian. Pick a lane, okay?
Racist. Right, now it's time for this. Postperson Pat. Good, you love... Right, well done, everybody. OK, so we discussed Prince Harry's new book at the start of the show, and you've been sending in your views in your droves. This first one now from Victor. Victor says, the huge mistake our wonderful Queen made was not removing their titles on day one. We are now paying. Do not even think of paying money for this, quote, book. Well, that's one view, but what about this one from Stephanie? Wow, wow, wow. How can you judge when you have not walked in Harry's shoes? You are clueless of what he has suffered. Well, to that, Stephanie, I say... Right, there we go. Next up is Nancy. Nancy says Meghan Markle has used Harry's insecurities to manipulate him into doing what she wants. When she divorces him and moves... Wow. When she divorces him and moves on to the next mug/husband, he's going to regret losing everything. Well, I see, the thing is, I reckon Prince Harry is so sopping wet that he won't have signed a prenup, because at some point Meghan will have whispered into his ear and gone, don't you think prenups are a bit outdated? And he goes, yeah, I'm going to be really progressive. I'm not going to sign a prenup. Oh, I'll see you in a bit, mate. Yeah, she's going to take you to the cleaners. Right, Meghan Markle uses Harry's insecurities to manipulate him. What do you make of all that? GBviews at gbnews.uk. Let's move on to our debate earlier. And following Trevor Noah's controversial remarks this week, we did ask whether or not people thought Britain was a racist country. Very quickly, Mandy's been in touch. No, I don't think the great British public are racist. Anyone who is anti-Rishi are probably cross because he stabbed Boris in the back. A funny meme is not racist. It's the British sense of humour. Right, ladies and gentlemen, it is 8 o'clock. There we go. And you're watching the Friday Night Feast. That's my kind of advert break, people. Not one at all. Anyway, we have an hour of jam-packed telly coming up that you will not want to miss. You don't want to miss me kick-starting my political career, that's right. Plus, we'll have a witch live in the studio. That's right, we've got a real-life witch because we've got a loose Halloween theme here, ladies and gentlemen. But first, we have more news from a girl who used to be a big part of this team and decided that she wanted to move on to bigger and better things. But who's laughing now, Tatiana?
Thank you, Patrick. I'm Tatiana Sanchez in the GB newsroom. The Northern Ireland Secretary says he'll call a snap election in the country, but hasn't said when. Chris Heaton-Harris said he would give more information next week and would meet with the Stormont parties. There's been no fully functioning devolved government since February. The DUP is blocking the restoration of power sharing in its protest against the Northern Ireland Protocol. Mr Heaton-Harris added he's faced with limited options.
I have limited options ahead of me. I'm under a legal duty to call an election within 12 weeks. I've had lots and lots of talks with all the parties and will continue to do so. And that I hear it when parties say that they really do not want an election at all. But nearly all of them are parties who signed up to the rules, the law that means I need to call an election. So you'll hear more from me on that particular point next week.
Scotland's First Minister will attend the COP27 climate summit as the Prime Minister's facing backlash over his decision not to go. The Scottish Government has confirmed Nicola Sturgeon will be going to the conference in Egypt next month. Meanwhile, Rishi Sunak is coming under widespread criticism. Speaking this morning from Croydon University Hospital, he said he will instead be focusing on domestic issues.
We're an example for others to follow at the pace in which we've reduced climate emissions, how we're going about protecting our environment, and those things are really important to me. It's important to me that as Prime Minister we leave behind an environment that is better for our children and grandchildren. I'm very passionate about that, I'm very personally committed to it, and I just think at the moment it's right that I'm also focusing on the depressing domestic challenges we have with the economy, and I think that's what people watching would reasonably expect me to be doing as well.
During his first official visit as Prime Minister, Mr Sunak faced questions from patients over his upcoming autumn budget and funding of the NHS. The suspect in the attack on US House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's husband has been identified as a 42-year-old man. San Francisco police say Paul Pelosi was violently assaulted with a hammer at the couple's California home earlier today. According to reports, the suspect shouted, "Where is Nancy?" A statement earlier today from Pelosi's office said the assailant is in custody and the motive for the attack is under investigation. Paul Pelosi was taken to hospital and is expected to make a full recovery. His wife was not in San Francisco at the time. Rock and roll star Jerry Lee Lewis, best known for his hit Great Balls of Fire, has died at the age of 87. The world-famous US musician, nicknamed The Killer, performed alongside some of the all-time greats, including Elvis Presley and Johnny Cash. His publicist confirmed Lewis died at home in Memphis, in Tennessee. TV, online and DAB+ radio. This is GB News. Now it's back to Patrick and the Friday Night Feast.
How do you feel about your local park being turned into a tent city full of asylum seekers? Giant marquees packed with people who've just come across the channel in small boats. So it'll only be whilst they're being processed. Well, it can take them years to be processed. Oh, it'll enrich your local area, don't worry about that. Well, there is currently rampant disorder and violence taking place at one detention centre because, as it turns out, many of these illegal immigrants don't actually get on that well with each other. Oh, and, of course, it'll be safe for the local area. Well, no, I'm afraid it won't. How much manpower will it take to secure a lot of these sites? And at the first opportunity, many of them could try to leg it out there, make contact with gang leaders or whatever, and try to make their way into the criminal economy. But if you think I'm being sensationalist, just have a look at this. The Home Office was genuinely considering setting up giant tents full of migrants in local parks because it couldn't cope with the numbers. Spoiler alert. We still can't cope with the numbers, and those numbers are only getting worse. So it's a matter of time before this idea becomes a reality. Mark my words. The British public are a charitable lot. We are a tolerant lot, but we do have a limit. How are those house prices doing in those areas where the local hotel has just been commandeered for use as a migrant holding pen? How are young single mums, military veterans, destitute elderly people doing when it comes to getting cheap private rental stock in areas where the Home Office is deliberately bidding more than them to house channel migrants? How are local GP services, schools, etc. going to cope? How does £6.2 million a day sound when it comes to paying for those hotel rooms? Where's the limit? Because I suspect that limit is when your local park turns into a slum. And that, I suspect, is just around the corner. Well, joining me now is border expert Henry Bolton. Before I go to my panel, Henry, thank you very, very much. Now, I am completely of the belief that it is just a matter of time before local parks are indeed, especially around London, turned into some of these asylum seeker holding pens, I would say. Henry, your views?
Well, perhaps, Patrick, but I think it's more likely that they'll just simply refuse to go into these places. So, for example, Manston, down the road from where I am in Kent, the likelihood is that if that gets any worse, they're just going to simply leave. And where are they going to go? We'll lose all track of them. But really, the problem here, Patrick, I mean, you're entirely right. Your lead into this was absolutely right. The British public are already getting sick and tired of it. I know that of people who have been arranging events at hotels, training courses and so on. They're being cancelled because the Home Office now is block booking the hotels across the southeast and in Kent.
Henry, we report on it every week, Henry, about people who've had weddings cancelled, who've had events cancelled, who've had rooms cancelled. And in fact, I was tipped off very, very early into one in Maidenhead because my mum and dad were due to come down. They were booking into a hotel and were being told no, they couldn't stay there anymore. But some people would say, well, maybe this is the best thing in order to process these migrants. There are talks, get this, Henry, of Home Office staff being given incentives, i.e. extra money, if they can process more than 4 asylum seekers a week. Well, good grief, the backlog's going to be massive because there's hundreds arriving, thousands every week.
Indeed, but the other thing that it might interest you to know, Patrick, is that there's about 15 to 20% of the asylum appeals that are heard by court. The government is not represented. The immigration officer who should be fighting the case for the government against the appeal doesn't even turn up. So we've got massive problems. But, you know, the government needs to take a deep breath and get ahead of the game. Use some initiative. Be a bit forward-leaning. They know that they're not, at the moment, able to stop this because they haven't found a solution to it because they're not listening to those people who do know how to solve it. But so the flow continues. So what are they going to do with these people? They can't simply continue with these rather sort of panicky, knee-jerk reactions, such as this absolutely nutty idea to put them in tented camps in towns.
Just ridiculous, isn't it, Henry? It's going to be an absolute nightmare, and it's going to be bad. It's going to be bad for both sides. Just quickly, Henry, where does the charity of the local British community end? Because a lot of people might be like, all right, OK, that Holiday Inn at the end of the road, right, that's gone. Oh, OK, all right, I suppose the other hotel in our town, that's gone as well. That might be a knock on. Oh, well, I suppose that council house has gone and now it's private rental sector housing as well that's gone. I mean, is it when the park goes that people start to think, oh, hang on a minute, this is a bit nuts now?
I think undoubtedly. And, you know, you think back to the barracks in Folkestone in Shorncliffe, Napier Barracks, and the local protests there in relation to that. And that was in a military barracks on the edge of a town. It wasn't a tented camp in the middle of town with what sort of ablutions, what sort of hygiene facilities and so on. And these people are going to be wandering around the towns. I mean, it's just absolutely nutty. Whoever thought of this has never, ever visited any sort of refugee camp at all. They have no idea. And, I mean, it's just... I'm almost speechless at how stupid this idea, the whole concept is.
Henry, good time to wrap up then. Henry Bolton, thank you very, very much for coming on. Of course, a border expert there. Well, joining me on my panel throughout tonight's show is the beauty that is actor, impressionist, presenter Francine Lewis, who thought she was getting an easy night and actually tackled some pretty heavy topics, and the beast that is Beauty and the Beast, that's it. Security expert Will Geddes. Didn't get that first time I read it, do get it now.
I'm liking it.
It's still on with ladies first. Look, OK, I'm not going to try and drag either of you into routes you're not comfortable with, particularly, but you know, the idea of walking past your local park, you know, at night and knowing that it's a kind of bit of a refugee dumping ground almost. It's just not particularly the right thing, do you think?
I think it's a ridiculous idea, personally. I hope that, I don't get lots of people saying, oh, but these people need to be home. I actually think I would hate it. I would absolutely hate to walk past take my dog for a run or walk and find, these tents everywhere with all... no, I think it's ridiculous. It's a stupid idea and I would hate it, personally.
In terms of security, Will, I mean, that's not going to do the house price in the local area any good, is it?
No, I mean, I live in central London, so you can already see in the central reservation in Park Lane, for example, a lot of, obviously, illegal immigrants or, who have taken up camp there. There's been problems with people being harassed in the street. I'm sorry, I am going to fall, not that I am opposed to legitimate immigrants, coming over who are escaping war zones or whatever, but my money is always going to be on veterans, it's going to be on the elderly, with the cost of living crisis, which is increasing. We've got to take care of our own. I mean, as much as, we need to be humanitarians, and we want to help and support. Let's get our priorities straight. There are veterans, vast majority of which that constitute the homeless, and we need to get them indoors, get them housed, get them the support that they need.
And we've got a cost of living crisis on, we can't move for it, the price of food, etc. You've got a lot of elderly people who were already maybe on the breadline, now they're on the brink, and you're starting to think, well, 6.2 million quid a day on hotel rooms for these people, plus local housing rental stock. I'm not being funny, but it might be easier and cheaper if you put your nan on a boat and brought her over the channel, she might get better housing.
Or use that money for flights to Rwanda.
Yes. Well, my nan would quite like a bit of a sunset trip to Rwanda, potentially. Look, both of you, thank you very, very much. Stay exactly where you are. I'm not letting you leave. We've got Will Geddes there and Francine Lewis, who will be joining me throughout the show. But on to another important topic this week. It's been a massive win for multiculturalism in the UK after Rishi Sunak became Britain's first Indian origin Prime Minister from the Hindu community. This has been a great week for them because India won the cricket, Diwali happened, and now Britain's Prime Minister firmly represents their faith. So discussing the importance of this is Alpesh Patel, the head of City Hindus. Alpesh, thank you very, very much. How important is it for the Hindu community to be able to see that we now have a British Indian Prime Minister?
I think I better first explain why I'm dressed like this. It's not because I've come in fancy dress as a politician, a blood-sucking vampire.
I've only just seen that. Take the strap off.
I've just come up from my son's Halloween party. But thank you for not noticing. I don't normally dress like this.
No. We've got... Wait a second. We've got radio listeners, right? So I've now got to... The screen in front of me... You are dressed as a vampire with blood over your mouth, aren't you? Is that right?
That is indeed blood, yes. It is. Nothing other than that. Make believe blood before you send me off to Rwanda for some criminal act. No, it's make-believe blood.
Come on, carry on. So what are you saying then? So you're happy to see the representation of Rishi Sunak, are you?
Yeah, of course you're right. It's just human nature, isn't it? Look, if he was a Leeds United fan, I'd be happy, but taking it to being British, Indian and Hindu takes it to another level. So, of course, we are. But, of course, it's a double-edged sword, because in about 18 months, you might want all of us out of the country if he doesn't perform. So we've all stuck our colours to his mast, and we've got to make sure he's successful if we're British Indian. Because, like I say, in 18 months, we don't want you looking at him the way you were all looking at Liz Truss and saying, where do we send these guys off and kick them out of the country? So, yeah, it's a double-edged sword, incredibly proud, but we've got to make a success out of this.
So can I just say, that's actually a really, really fascinating mindset. So do you think that there's a lot of pressure on Rishi Sunak actually from the British Hindu community to perform? Because otherwise, what? You think it might reflect badly on you? I don't know. What do you think?
I don't think it's pressure on him as such. I think there's pressure on the rest of us. At 2:01 p.m, I got a call from my mother-in-law saying, "What went wrong with you, sunshine?" I think there's a lot of pressure on the rest of us. Why we're not? It used to be, I want my Indian son-in-law, daughter-in-law to be doctor, accountant, or lawyer. Now it's doctor, accountant, lawyer, or prime minister. So there's a lot of pressure on the rest of us. It's not so much pressure on it. I think it's beholden on the rest of us certainly the British Indian community. I think we're just going to be, whatever he does, we'll just have to say, no, that's right, that's brilliant, that's just right. That we're going to have to spin it because it's our neck's on the block. We're going to be
right. If you're being honest with me, and this angle has not been discussed on many news outlets, are you actually a little bit gutted that Rishi Sunak is Prime Minister now because it's too much to live up to?
No, I'm not gutted. There is a bit of FOMO. My son said to me the next day, he said, Daddy, why aren't you Prime Minister? The kid's 4.5 years old. I was waiting for him to be 13 before he's disappointed in his father. He's disappointed at the age of 4.5. So, yeah, I guess to some extent, don't quote me in the papers on this, but yeah, we're a bit disappointed as Prime Minister because now we've all got to live up to that level, that standard. Whereas if I came from a community where everybody was just, oh, you woke up in the morning, congratulations, aren't you a great beacon of your community? Then, yeah, it'd be a bit easier, it'd be less pressure. But he's really raised the bar on it now. I mean, let alone the fact that CEO of Microsoft, CEO of Adobe, past chairwoman of Pepsi, head of Starbucks. At least they sacked the head of Twitter, who was also of Indian origin. So at least we've got one, who's been sacked. But the pressure's just immense on us. We barely get 2 hours sleep a night. We're just like, oh God, sons, mothers-in-law. I mean, I don't even bring my wife into it. She was disappointed the day after we got married, but that's a different story.
Mate, I think you might be my favourite ever guest. Thank you very, very much. This is absolutely brilliant. Look, I'm going to have to talk to you again. You are an absolute legend. That was Alpesh Patel. He's done me there, absolutely. Alpesh Patel, the head of City Hindus. He's actually gutted about the fact that Rishi Sunak is now a Prime Minister because of the pressure that it's put him under and other members of the Hindu community. I mean, you couldn't make it up. Right. It's time now for Challenge Christie. So a few weeks ago, I had a chap called Nick the Flying Brick from the Monster Raving Loony Party on to tell the nation why he should be the next Chancellor. Do you remember that political carnage that we had on before? I thought, let's take a different angle on it. That's the angle we did. Now, obviously, sadly for Nick the Flying Brick, that didn't happen. We got Jeremy Hunt instead. We all make mistakes, nation. We all make mistakes. But for those at home who are unaware, the Monster Raving Loony Party have policies such as completing a 5-year parliament in just 4 years, save a bit of time there, legalising broccoli and lowering the voting age to 5 as long as that child can hold a crayon, OK? Without me knowing, my producer, Joe, do you remember that bloke whose head I shaved and his missus left him? Yeah. Well, Joe signed me up as a fully fledged member of the Monster Raving Loony Party. I guess now that I have to start my bid to be Prime Minister. So for this week's Challenge Christie's, I decided I was going to go out and try to canvass for votes for the Monster Raving Loony Party and see if I could get up to 5 people to join the Monster Raving Looners. Let's go. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest instalment of Challenge Christie's. Now, today's challenge might look a bit budget. That's because it is, because we had 2 different challenges booked in, and then Rishi Sunak became our Prime Minister earlier than we thought he would. So I decided to join the Monster Raving Loony Party and see if I can get 5 people to vote loony. Let's see if I can. A 99p coin.
Yeah. I'm not really sure what to think about that.
Yeah, that's lovely.
The 99p coin?
I don't think it makes sense.
The 99p coin.
I think we should get rid of 99p prices.
Right, what about it?
We'd introduce one.
No.
Can I try to win your vote? We've got a plan to deal with inflation. We'll just let the air out.
OK.
Yeah, you all right with that?
What, getting rid of inflation?
Yeah.
Yeah.
OK, right. Train strikes. We want to deal with them. We want to stop them. So we're going to stop people using trains as bowling balls.
I don't really know what you mean by using them as bowling balls.
The old classic, well, it was the 99p coin, but because of inflation, it's just going to be a £1,000 coin.
That's what you're offering, is it?
One of the many offers that we have on.
1,000p coin. That's going to be heavier than a note.
I will make sure, personally, that James Blunt's songs are never played on radio again.
Yeah, I can appreciate that, yeah.
I was held for 18 days. I've already won my trial.
Well done.
OK, I've already won it. I'm not trying here to prove anything.
That's all right. What I would do as well is I would move Parliament from Westminster to Wormwood Scrubs Prison.
Okay.
Because that's where most MPs should be anyway.
OK, yeah, put them there.
But we've been doing this for 20 minutes now. Inflation's gone through the roof, so we'll just introduce the 1,000p coin.
I'm struggling to follow where you're going with any of this.
So if I promise to protect sources...
You're there. Because as a whistleblower, about the government, where does the whistleblower go?
Right, so if I promise you now, in order to protect sources, every single pot of ketchup and mayonnaise in the country is put in a safe.
No. Justice!
So just to unite the nation and unite Europe, we're going to put a massive cardboard box around Britain and the entire European Union, and we're just going to call it Schrodinger's Brexit.
That's an amazing idea.
You're up for that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Will it be fire retardant?
It'll be retardant, don't worry about that.
Yeah, that sounds perfect for you guys then.
You know the Northern Ireland Protocol?
Yes.
Right, it's a massive kerfuffle at the minute. We'd send Noel Edmonds over there because he knows the difference between deal and no deal. Are you a football fan?
Yeah.
Right. Whenever England play the Germans have to wear slippers.
Yeah, definitely.
You'll be up for that?
Yeah.
Right, OK, we're getting there. Kids, obviously, at the moment, they're struggling to learn to read as early as they normally would. So, also, fish and chip shops are going out of business. So what we thought we'd do is... we'd make a fish and chip shop mandatory on every street corner, and we'd make them wrap their newspapers, wrap their fish and chips in newspapers so kids learn to read early.
Yeah, well, we were brought up like that, weren't we? Oh, yeah, that's how I was brought up, yeah.
All NHS staff have to memorise our national anthem, which is Staying Alive. What we want to do as well is just ban Kylie Minogue.
Ban?
Ban Kylie Minogue.
Well,
Finger.
Oh, I don't know. I never heard of him.
To solve the crisis, we've got a big green deal, right? We want to make driving green again. So we just make everyone paint their cars green.
You should go for the roads as well. It could work.
Well, interesting, because do you drive?
Yeah.
Okay, you know every year you have to get an MOT?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we want to do an ROT to make sure the roads are car-worthy.
Yeah, that's definitely a good idea.
Yeah? Would you vote for me?
Maybe.
I give you a good shot.
Am I not changing your mind?
No.
I think so, yeah. You're a nice person.
Yeah.
Would you vote for me now?
Yes. Never.
It's your last chance, mate.
I mean, I can't say yes because I don't really know what it is you represent. So you'd have to give me more policy information rather than just spark random policies.
Would you vote for me?
No.
Well, there we go. I did actually get some votes. All in all, there was at least one or two. Well, joining me now is the sensational sensei of the insane. It's Nick the Flying Brick, the monster raving loony party treasurer. Yes. Hello, mate. How are you?
I'm very well, Patrick. I'm extremely well. I'm very, very pleased to be on your show again.
No, mate. Honestly, I think you're an absolute legend. I love
an amazing effort. I think you're the man.
Right.
You're
Okay.
The man. We need you at the party.
Can I have a shadow cabinet position, please?
Of course you can, Patrick. I'd be very, very pleased for you to take a shadow cabinet position. What do you want? Have you thought about it?
Oh, no, not at all, actually. And now I'm wishing that I had thought about it before I asked you that question. I just thought you were going to say no. I would quite like to be Home Secretary and turn the lights off in your house. There you go. Right, OK. Francine Lewis, would you vote for me?
Of course I'd vote for you, Patrick. Yes. All day long.
Yeah? Why?
Yeah.
Any particular qualities that stand out to you?
But you've got many, Patrick. You know, knowing you for quite a while now.
Yeah.
I think, you have a lot of qualities, and I would you would definitely get my vote.
Thank you very
100%.
much. And Will Gelly's there. What do you make about some of my policies?
Let me have a think about it. No. You know what? I think the policy for the fish and chip shops to get kids to read, I thought that was profound.
Absolutely, yes.
Profound.
So, wrap fish and chips in newspaper
I
again.
thought that was a really good idea.
When kids eat it, they learn to read, and they learn the news as well. So it's current affairs
improves
and
their
reading.
eyesight, because they need to read it through the grease.
Yeah, yes, indeed.
I wish I had ate more fish and chips when I was a child.
I know, but
Thank God you didn't.
Nick the Flying... Oh, grief. Nick the Flying Brick is back. Sorry, I just choked on Will Geddes' sleaze. Right, OK. Nick, so you've some great policies there, and I was looking into it. I particularly like the fact that during Brexit you did genuinely want to send Noel Edmonds over to Brussels to just completely say deal or no deal, relentlessly. Turn your sound on, Nick. Yeah, there he is. Nick, go on, carry on.
I think I don't think the connection is very good, Patrick. Can you
Well,
hear
I
me?
don't know. Have another drink and we'll see where we end up. But seriously, if people want to vote for Monster Raving Loony Party, how can they do it? How can they? Well, I know how they can do it, but as in, can they get in touch and donate to you and join the party?
Of course they can. They just go to loonyparty.com and they'll find out how to do it. And Baron von Thunderclap, our membership secretary, will be very pleased to send you out a membership pack. And I need punters to help me nominate because we're going to put Howling Lord Hope, our party leader, up in the city of Chester. There's a by-election coming up there on the 1st of December.
So there's a by-election in Chester on the 1st of December. Can I try and help Lord Hope get elected?
Do you understand, Patrick? I mean, we could put you forward.
I can hear the words yes being said. I'm just thinking in my head, how am I going to juggle this with work?
Forward, Patrick.
I've never thought anything through in my life. So, yeah, let's do it.
I think he should. What do you think, Francie? What do you think, Will?
Well, I think, for Patrick, unfortunately, the position of Minister for Sexual Health is obviously gone, because that's gone to Baron von Thunderclap.
OK, look, thank you very much. All right, look, Nick the Flying Prick, you are a legend. I'm going to get back to you on this. I would quite like to actually stand...
No, don't get back to me. Come on, commit yourself now. Come on,
Patrick. Come on, Patrick. Come on, step up.
I can't commit to it because...
Step up to it,
all right, I'll
Patrick.
do it.
Yay!
All right, I will be the candidate for the Monster Raving Loony Party in Chester.
Yes.
All right. Good grief, I've taken on a lot on this show already. There we go. Look, thank you very much. That was Nick the Flying Brick there, the treasurer, or let's be honest, whatever that is, of the Monster Raving Loony Party. OK, so after the break, you thought the GB News didn't get rogue enough people on. OK, you didn't think we got enough people from an eclectic mix of backgrounds. We will be talking to a real-life witch. That's right. Don't go anywhere, people. Stay tuned.
On Mark Dolan tonight, in my big opinion, my first on-air comments about new PM Rishi Sunak. If he secures our borders, fixes the economy and gets the best out of Brexit, he'll win the next election. We've got tomorrow's papers with radio legend Mike Porky Parry, showbiz queen Lizzie Cundy and top academic Lisa McKenzie. And in my take at 10, the EU are signing up for more COVID tyranny and have boasted about crushing free speech in the bloc. Thank God we're out. Plus, my Mark Meets guest is Dragon's Den legend Levi Roots. See you at 9.
Hello there, it's Eamon Holmes here from Breakfast on GB News. We're not just on your television and your screens, We're
on DAB plus digital radio, so you can listen to your favourite shows on the move.
If you've not yet listened to GB News Radio, it's very simple. We're on your radio player and tune-in apps, on your smart speaker, phone or tablet, or online at gbnews.uk.
Take us with you wherever you go. GB News Radio.
You never have to miss a moment of the People's Channel.
Hello, I'm Simon Evans. Join me on GB News for Headliners at 11 p.m, where I'll be joined by two of the country's top comedians as we take a look at tomorrow's newspapers tonight. If it's a big story, we'll be covering it, I guarantee, but we'll also have some fun along the way. That's GB News Headliners at 11 p.m. We won't put you to sleep, unlike some of the other paper review shows out there. So join us, 11 p.m, 7 nights a week.
I'm Mark White. As GB News Home and Security Editor, I cover those key issues that are so important to you. Our authorities, our communities doing all they can to combat violent crime. With the public services under unbearable strain, why are we still failing to control our borders? Defence, the first priority of any government, has been continually hollowed out. Can we trust our politicians to protect the armed forces? Join me, Mark White, on GB News.
Join me, Nana Akua, on Friday, Saturday and Sunday afternoons on GB News. Expect fiery debate and passionate discussion as me and my panel tackle some of the biggest topics hitting the headlines. It's a place for everyone's opinion. No one gets cancelled, but no one gets an easy ride.
Oh, she's on it today.
Be ready for conversations that are fierce, frank, and of course, fun. Every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday afternoon from 4 p.m. on GB News.
Every morning from 6 o'clock, we'll wake you up with GB News Breakfast with all the stories you didn't know from the night before.
So whether it's serious news, entertainment, or your own views from all over our great nation, we're here to kick off your day with a smile.
And the national media should be reflecting and reporting what's happening here.
You will notice the northwestern accents.
Whether you're with us on TV, radio, or online, every morning, it's breakfast from 6 a.m. Hope you can join us.
Every Saturday at 2 o'clock, join me, Darren Grimes, for Real Britain. I'm not afraid to give you a platform and say it how it is.
Come on, make the case. Something like this is very, very important to people.
And we're always up for a laugh on this show.
God, honestly, you'd think there were no problems in the world.
Real Britain, every Saturday on GB News.
On the Mark Steyn Show, we cover the stories a lot of people are scared even to mention. The stuff that really matters with some of the world's biggest thinkers.
Now is his opportunity to kind of take the steering wheel of history.
Break away from the flop at 8 o'clock on GB News with the Mark Steyn Show.
We are GB News.
And we'd like to say thank you
to each and every one of you
for helping our great nation
find its voice.
We're absolutely everywhere.
Across England, Scotland,
Wales and Northern Ireland.
On TV,
on radio,
and online.
We're proud to be
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back, everybody, now to Friday Night Feast. It's just emerged I will be standing as the candidate for the monster raving loony party in the Chester by-election. So there we go. We do things, we regress on a Friday night. Mine's come early. Now, Halloween is the time of folklore, scary, sinister stuff. Or is it? Because Emma Griffin is a professional witch who offers clients soul business readings and help you with most aspects of your life. And it seems like everyone could do with this kind of witch, if you ask me. So, here you are. Yes, welcome. I think it's probably about time we brought her into shots, isn't it? There we go. All right, it is TV, people. Emma.
Hi.
You're a witch.
Yes, I am.
What does that mean?
A witch is somebody who honours the earth, loves nature, works with the moon, and does nice things.
So not the old
horrible.
bad reputation, cackling, broom handles, black cats.
No.
Do you happen to have a black cat? Do you? I'm a cat fan of cats.
I have 6 dogs and a cat.
Yes, good, because we do Dog of the Week in a minute, hang around. Right, so talk to me about why or how you became a witch. Were you born a witch?
My mum was a witch, so I've been brought up in a magical household.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah, my mum was a well-known tarot reader, so she always taught me magic as well, and my brother. And then when I was about 21, I wanted to step on the path, so I've been a witch since then. And then my daughter's also a witch now, she's 23.
So what does it entail? So I know that you've said about you know, the moon being in touch with all that kind of stuff, but can you do magic stuff?
Yeah.
Like
yeah,
what?
You do. You can just... Everything is energy. So we work with plants, crystals, colours, the elements like fire, water, and then you use the energy of that to work with your intent, and that goes into magic.
So can you...
It's manifest.
Curse people?
No, I wouldn't curse anyone.
You wouldn't, but you could. But you could. But you
I
could.
wouldn't.
You know?
Wouldn't.
Not even if I paid you loads.
No.
No? Because there's someone I really don't like. No?
No.
OK, all right. What about can you wish good things on people?
Yes.
Me?
Yeah, I can wish good things on you.
What's the process that has to go there, and can we do it in the next couple of minutes?
No, I'd have to do it with the actual...
You'd have to do it, OK.
Stuff.
Right,
yeah.
so is Halloween like business time for you?
Yeah, I actually take Halloween off. I don't work on Halloween.
What kind of witch are you?
Yeah.
What part-time witch? Hey? No, go on, so...
It's like my New Year's Eve.
Oh, I see,
So,
right.
Yeah, so I will celebrate
So you just get lit.
Yes, I will at the end.
OK, all right. So what kind of people come to you? So business, what was it, soul business readings or something?
I do guidance medicine readings. So I work with people all over the world. Yeah, through the power of Zoom.
OK, so just explain to me how you transformed some people's lives.
I help them find their soul path, I help them with mental health, I help them find their right jobs that they should be on, I help them with partners, relationships and all sorts, fertility.
God, really?
Yeah, everything.
Yeah,
it's
See, I feel I have a strong connection with the moon because the moon actually affects my moods. I actually sometimes feel like I'm a little bit of a werewolf. I know you think that's weird, but I do because the moon really affects me. I always know when there's a full moon outside, and I do that manifestation thing as well because I'm really into my crystals as well.
Yeah, crystals are amazing.
It's funny you say that because I used to have a strong affiliation with the sun, but then they changed what they did on page 3. How do you feel about this? Would you ever seek the services of a witch to try to improve your soul?
You know what? I'm not opposed to it because I came from a bit of a funny childhood, as you can probably imagine, hence why I am what I am today. So, I mean, my mother was actually, little known fact, my mother was the founder of a place called the London Dungeon, which is now quite a popular.
Cool. That's very cool.
So I grew up in a childhood in a household where there was a lot of sort of books about supernatural. There was a lot of books about witches, good and bad, you know, white and black witches.
Yeah.
So I'm not opposed to it, but also I think in my industry particularly, you develop a degree of intuition. Emma gives off a very, very positive, sort of karma.
The energy.
Really positive energy, and you can detect very quickly. And I had a thing in my childhood. We'd go into locations. You know, my mother would turn around and say, "Has it got good spooks or bad spooks?" And you can pick up if you go into somewhere where it actually feels wrong, which, in a life-saving capacity, can actually be fantastically helpful.
So why do you think witches have a bad reputation? Because I think you've done a lot to dispel
the Wizard of Oz. That's
They're mean. They're all killing children or horrible and... Yeah, it's not very good light, is it?
But you're doing your bit now to try
I'm trying to make it more...
It's a countermeasure.
OK,
anyone can be a witch.
Anyone can be a witch?
Yeah, it's just a practice.
OK, so how can people, if people are watching this, can I just say, genuinely, and I'm not messing around here, quite weird, really positive vibes coming off you.
It is,
like, seriously, you smell amazing, by the way. Seriously, this studio needs more of you, OK? I'm bang up for this, more of you. Yeah. How can people get in touch with you if they want to...
I'm on TikTok,
just absorb your energy.
Instagram,
What, give us the handles, come on.
Sacred Space Cornwall and the UK Witch on TikTok.
You come all the way from Cornwall for this tonight.
I love it. I love it. But Cornwall's got a real affinity for that whole sort of the mystic side and the energy down there, isn't it?
Yeah. It's
well,
beautiful.
thank you very, very much, I must say. No, really good. Gosh.
Can I just ask one question?
Yes.
Do you get like can you feel our energies? You know, like. Can you?
What are our energies? What are our energies, Emma?
Oh, really good.
Is it? Really?
There's an opportunity that's going to come your way very soon.
So, to Francine?
Oh, my God, that's
She's sitting next to her.
I love it.
Is there any hope for me?
Yours is very positive.
Oh, is it? Oh, bless you. Thank you.
Patrick?
Patrick, any hope for him?
Bigger things.
Are you sure?
Bigger things.
It's just that you left me to last and you didn't look that convinced.
No, definitely.
All right, Emma, thank you very much. You can come back. All right, Emma Griffin there. Yes, absolutely.
We love Emma. We need more Emma.
Top guest tonight. Right, Emma Griffin, thank you very much. A professional witch. And I think we can all agree as well, all-round lovely human being.
Yes.
Thank you. Right, OK, ladies and gentlemen, now it's time for this.
Honestly.
We're still on the TV, everyone. So let's start with news that has broken live on the show tonight. So I am going to run for Parliament as a member of the Monster Raving Loony Party. Kat has messaged straight in. Pretty straightforward from Kat. Patrick for PM. Oh, my God, you are going to be voted in. Can you actually imagine if I became the MP for Chester as the Monster Raving Loony Party candidate? Okay. Is that what's good news on my horizon? That could be it. OK, non-committal, but we'll go for it. Yeah. That's the big opportunity. Yes, you too could sit next to an MP on a Friday night. Anyway, right, moving on. We spoke about buffets in Round Your Parts earlier on, and a startling admission from one guest that prompted 15-year-old Lavinia to contact us. There we go. Lavinia says, relieved to hear Francine talk about taking her lunch from the breakfast buffet. I always thought it was just my mum who made us pastry, wrapped in paper napkins after a holiday in breakfast. Lovely stuff. And Alpesh Patel, who I think is one of my favourite guests ever, was on earlier, dressed as Dracula, which I was not expecting because he was on to talk about Rishi Sunak becoming the Prime Minister and what it means for the Hindu community, but there we go. And it seems he's a bit of a hit with you lot. Here we go. My wife and I are still on the floor. Hysterical. I thought genuine humour was dead. It certainly isn't. God, he was so funny. Anonymous on that, is it? Yeah, Anthony. There we go, Anthony. And this is from Carol. Patrick, we adore that man. He was brilliant. So unexpectedly funny and best laugh I've had in ages. Can you have him on every week? You know what? Should we try and get him on as a panellist next week? No offence to you. Try and get him on as a panellist next week. I think we probably should. I don't know. Anyway, let's do our best. Right. Well, we'll see what we can do. If you're still watching, Alpesh, the viewers demand your return. OK, so get your vampire backside over here, right, and come and sit down next to me next week. After the break, it's a real news roundup, I believe, apparently. Yes, OK. Yes, you heard me right. It's time. Is it time for the real news? I don't know what's going on. Do something. Wondering how you feel about the idea that Labour might win the next general election.
I don't care about the government.
Weekday afternoons on GB News, we've got the whole of the UK covered. From 12 to 3, it's GB News Day with me, Mark Longhurst.
And me, Gloria Di Piero. You'll get the very latest on everything that's been going on across our great nation.
And from 3 till 6, watch out for GB News Live with me, Patrick Christys. I'm not here to mess around. With all the biggest topics and guests, you will always be up to date. GB News Day and GB News Live from 12 p.m.
Only on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Dan Wootton. Join me Monday to Thursday from 9 to 11 for the feistiest and most fun news debate on TV, where free speech reigns. I'll bring you a sharp take on the day's biggest stories, bombshell newsmaker interviews, and A-list guests. And I guarantee you, no spin, no bias, no censorship, and no reason to go to bed. That's Dan Wootton tonight, Monday to Thursdays from 9 on GB News.
My name is Andrew Doyle. Join me every Sunday evening at 7 p.m. for Free Speech Nation. This is a show where we address current affairs and news stories of the week with the help of two wonderful comedian panellists. I brought in comics because I want to give it a lighter edge, and also they work for less. See you there.
My name's Tom Harwood, and join me 9:30 a.m. every weekday for The Briefing, your one-stop shop for everything you need to know about what's going on in politics today. I wonder if this is a deal that might need to be like the biscuits in this factory, twice baked. Is there not an opportunity here to win out against the extremes?
Tom Harwood, GB News.
What are you going to do about it?
Things should have been done differently, and they certainly are being done differently.
Don't miss it. The Briefing with me, Tom Harwood, 9:30 Monday to Friday on GB News.
On Mark Dolan tonight, we have a simple plan, which is to inform, stimulate and entertain in equal measure. It's all about getting your opinions on the national television airwaves. I love my viewer emails, mark@gbnews.uk. So do join me from 9 p.m. to midnight every Friday, Saturday and Sunday for big guests, big opinions and a big presenter. 6'5", don't you know? See you then on GB News.
Where would you like to go?
Just take me to the studio, please, mate. You know where you're going. I've got a show to do. Friday Night Feast on GB News, 7 p.m. And it's like nothing you've ever seen before. We take a different angle on the week's biggest news stories. The viewers and listeners set me some absolutely mad challenges to do. We tried to rehome a rescue dog. And yes, there's some other wacky stuff in there as well. I feel like I could take on the world. Well, that's that. Friday Night Feast with me, Patrick Christys, every Friday, 7 till 9 p.m. on GB News. Be there.
Join me, Arlene Foster, for The Briefing on GB News. Every Friday at 3 p.m, I'll give you all the latest political news and analysis, and we'll have robust live debate. To make sure that you're caught up on all of the biggest issues of the day, we'll bring on experts in their field. I'll ask the questions that you'd like to ask. We're not afraid to tackle discussions from all perspectives, including yours. Don't forget, The Briefing with me, Arlene Foster, every Friday at 3 p.m. on GB News.
Welcome back, everybody, to Friday Night Feast. So earlier, I went down by mistake to Comic-Con. So you might not know what Comic-Con is. It's like the world's largest gathering of people who are into comic books, anime, games, cosplay. I don't know, look, don't ask me, OK? I was only there by error. So anyway, I shamelessly put the news knowledge of Britain's best-dressed nerds to the test. Just watch this, it'll all become clear. Hi, guys. So what does Comic-Con mean to you?
It's just a place where I can have fun and relax after, a hard day's work.
And, sir, I mean, why did you decide to become a Spider-Man?
Why not? He's a good superhero.
Yeah.
Friendly local neighbourhood Spider-Man.
Absolutely. Have you got any strong views about the Northern Ireland Protocol?
No. Spiders.
No. Okay. We'll try someone else. Just wondering how you feel about the idea that Labour might win the next general election.
I don't care about the government.
We might be about to lose our Home Secretary. Any views on that?
Which one's that? Oh, they change so often lately.
Yeah. Suella Braverman.
Suella Braverman, I do not like her.
Why not?
Because I find her views on immigrants deplorable.
You're not pro the Rwanda scheme?
Absolutely not. No.
I just want to know whether or not you'd support industrial action on the railways.
Yes.
Why?
Because, I don't know, man. Stop stressing me! What's the question again?
Would you support industrial action on the railways?
Yes.
So what does it mean to be here for you guys today?
It's community, basically. I barely go outside besides cons, and it's just super nice to see friends and people that have the same interests as me. Yeah, it's...
Would you give nurses a pay rise?
Yes.
Yeah? Yeah, sure.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay, all right. And how do you feel about Rishi Sunak's new cabinet?
I don't pay much attention to that at the moment. I'm afraid it's a crap show. I'm so tired.
Well, there we go. It had to be done. Francine, would you be able to answer all of my general news knowledge questions? Do you think, what do you make of that? Was that a bit mean to those people at Comic-Con? Nerds.
Yes. But saying that, it was a very strange situation I think you were in. But you looked great as Robin. Absolutely amazing, and it was good to see so many Batmans.
Yes, it was, actually.
I wish I was there.
I was confronted with a Robin outfit, and I had to get changed in the toilets of the local hotel there. It was like a Holiday Inn or something, so I go in there, and what I didn't realise is that, well, because I didn't really know there was a Robin costume, I didn't realise that it was a full-body skin-tight number, right? So just put it this way, for the sake of me not having to sign a register for the rest of my life, I had to wear my suit trousers as well as that. That could have been a bit heavy. But would you ever go to Comic-Con?
Mate, if I went Comic-Con, I'd have to do it properly. I'd have to go to San Diego, do the full-on Comic-Con. Mate, I'd be there, definitely.
I wouldn't know.
But, you know, I think there's a lot of hard drives there. The one here in London, that might need to be checked.
I'd be inclined, as someone who's been there, I would agree. Right, OK, it's time now, very quickly, for Christie's courtroom. Order. Meh. Right, the person in the dock today, this is where we just put 3 people in the dock and see if they're guilty or not guilty. Simple concept, people, catch up. Right, OK, so the person in the dock today is BBC presenter Martine Croxall. She's being investigated by BBC News for a potential breach of impartiality and is being taken off air. You hate to see it. Until the investigation is complete. During her introduction on the newspaper review programme after Boris Johnson ruled himself out of the Conservative leadership race, Croxall told viewers that she was gleeful. Will, is she guilty of being a bit of a prat?
No, I don't think she is, actually. I think the fact is that Boris Johnson had just resigned just before the show went on. And I think her gleefulness was probably the fact that she had something interesting to talk about. Rather than the usual nonsense of trying to churn it. So I'm trying to be impartial. I don't think she was gleeful about
Maybe you should
Boris
have a job at this. You're auditioning for a role as a BBC impartiality.
Well, being a mercenary, the more they pay me, I'll work for anybody, you know that.
Yeah, he really will. He really will do anything for money. Francine, what do you think about the fact that the BBC lady's been taken off air? You don't really care, do you?
I don't really care, no.
All right, OK. I'm just going to go guilty. OK, there we are. The next one, next in the dock. It's our old favourites, the Just Stop Oil crew. So, at the start of the week, the protesters headed for the King Charles waxwork at Madame Tussauds. Here's what transpired. The Educated Trust Fund baby Pellick slapped King Charles with some kind of cream paste thingy. And there we go. So, Will and Francine, Just Stop Oil protest, guilty or not guilty of high treason for defacing a replica of our beloved monarch?
Guilty.
Guilty.
100%.
Off with their heads, straight to the tower, and drag them through the streets. That's my personal feeling.
Good grief, that's taking a turn. OK, well, thank you very much for that. So they are guilty. I'm just going to say that they are guilty. And so the Channel 4 TV show Friday Night Live got people talking this week when, it was obviously last week, wasn't it? When the trans comedian Jordan Gray stripped totally naked at the end of his performance. Gray then finished his performance in the traditional fashion by playing the piano with his penis to the delight of the cheering crowd. I mean, do not go and look at this online unless you're that way inclined, but not everyone was particularly happy. It got more than 1,400 Ofcom complaints. I'm just going to go over to the panel now. Francine, I mean...
Well, that's a talent at the end of the day. I mean...
Is it?
Yes, it is. I mean, how many people can do that?
Anyone with a penis and a piano.
I think, wow.
OK.
It's yeah.
Well, having worked with many Royal Marines and members of the parachute regiment, this is quite mild, really, in comparison. But, you know, if this is the way that he expresses himself, good luck to him.
Yeah.
Well, so you're saying not guilty. Not guilty of just being a bit weird.
Not guilty.
All right, there you go. I've been overruled. OK, right, now, time for... Oh, it's the moment you've all been waiting for, ladies and gentlemen. Are you ready? It's Dog of the Week! Yay! That's right. The part of the show where we try to rehome a lovely little doggy. And this week, it's Bon Bon from the Isley Dog Rescue in Ayrshire. Oh, Bon Bon is an absolute sweetie. She's about 4 or 5 years old and is very fun-loving with humans, including children, but not a massive fan of cats. Who is, apart from Weirdo Will over there? Well, joining me now is Gillian McCann from the Islay Dog Rescue to tell us all about the Bon Bon's there! Yes, we've got a live Dog of the Week. Fantastic. Gillian, tell us all about Bon Bon, please.
Bon Bon. She came from Romania about 5 years ago, 4, maybe 5 years ago. She went to a home for maybe 3 years, and then she was returned to us because they weren't wanting her anymore. And she's been here quite a wee while now.
Bon Bon looks like quite a big dog.
Very big.
She is.
She's big, isn't she? What do we think, roughly speaking, what breed do we think that Bon Bon might have? What mishmash?
Malamute cross.
OK, fair enough. And so, is Bon Bon good on a walk?
Yeah, she loves to go a walk.
Fantastic.
She's good with kids as well.
She's all right with kids, but just not cats. Kids, not cats.
No cats, no.
No cats. All right. And what kind of home would you be looking to rehome Bon Bon in?
One with no cats. A family home.
Fantastic. All right, so if people are having a look at Bon Bon now, how can they get in touch with you? How can they, email in or phone you or what? Oh, look at that.
It's got a huge tongue.
You can go on the website and contact us through there.
Oh,
or Facebook.
Fantastic. Do you know the website? I'm just saying, is it isleydogrescue.co.uk or something like that, is it?
.org.
.org. All right. Well, we'd just like to say thank you very much. I mean, look at that wonderful Bon Bon. How can you not look at Bon Bon? Bon Bon? Yeah, there we go. OK, right. Well done, everyone. Thank you very, very much. And look, cheers for coming on the show as well. That was Gillian McCann from the Islay Dog Rescue with this week's Dog of the Week. There we go. Bon Bon, please, please, please get in touch and try to give the wonderful Bon Bon a forever home. Right. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have to be a bit quick with this. In fact, actually, it's pretty much time to go. Has anyone got a taxi for Christie's?
Taxi for Christie's.
It's remarkably light out there, isn't it? That was the week, of course, when we found out how small Rishi Sunak really was. There we are. A Glasgow sex offender who trashed a shop with a prosthetic limb was given the ultimate punishment, and the Zimbabwe president gloated as enacting revenge over Pakistan at the Cricket World Cup. Look, thank you very much, and thank you. Fantastic stuff to my wonderful panel. We've had the wonderful Will Geddes and the wonderful Francine.
Hello there, I'm Stephen Keats with your latest Met Office forecast. And for the weekend coming up, it looks like it's going to be quite a changeable affair with some further rain at times, often quite breezy, but not a washout by any means. There will be some sunshine to be had and it will remain very mild. And that's because we have the wind coming up from the south or southwest around this area of low pressure that's been anchored out in the Atlantic. But there will be fronts coming up in that flow from time to time, hence the changeable theme. So Friday's rain will be slowly clearing away from the far north of Scotland, only to be replaced though by the next batch of rain coming up from the south into southern England, eventually parts of Wales and Midlands, East Anglia by the end of the night. Quite misty and murky tied in with this. The odd fog patch further north, but it is a mostly dry night to come for a good part of Scotland and Northern Ireland. Here a touch on the chilly side in one or two spots, but on the whole it's a mild start, and it's here where we'll have the best of the sunshine through Saturday morning, although the cloud will be invading from the south. That said, I think the far north of Scotland should remain mostly dry, and where we start off cloudy and damp across a good part of England and Wales, well, I think for many the conditions will improve with some warm sunshine coming through for parts of southeast England. Highs of perhaps 22 Celsius in the London area, really exceptional for this time of year.